Okay, we are at this point now being joined on the broadcast by journalist and public affairs analyst Taiwo Olapade, who is here with us in Lagos, as well as Arise News analyst Tietie from our Abuja studios. Good morning, gentlemen. Good to have you on the show today. And Taiwo, good to have you at the... We don't say in Lagos.
Welcome to the show.
Talking Edo, welcome to the show. All right, let's start with you, Taiwo. It's a slow start. Raining day, we're told, in Edo, and it's very slow. Logistics is a bit weak as at this point. Accreditation was meant to start around 8:30. This is to 10. We will find out what has been happening, but it looks like everything is slow. What are your expectations for today? And are you following what's going on there? And are you satisfied with the first 1 hour that we expect INEC to have been up and running?
Well, excuse me. Sincerely, I'm not satisfied with what I've seen so far and what I've monitored so far regarding this ongoing Edo gubernatorial election. INEC had enough time to really prepare for this election, particularly when it comes to logistics. And it has become a regular or recurring decima that we say, oh, we have not seen vehicles to convey electoral officials or even materials, as the case may be. And that's exactly what has played out in some of the polling units that I've monitored on TV, even listened to back on radio. And sincerely, I'm not satisfied. And I want to categorically say that there should be a thorough investigation as regards the lapses that we have noticed as regards the deployment of this logistics, because politicians, they deployed so many, sinister motives, sinister ways to ensure that they manipulate the system. So whether this is deliberate on the side or on the part of INEC, or those who have been given this responsibility to convey electoral materials and even officials to different polling units, I'm calling for a thorough investigation. You never can tell. It could be an act of sabotage in this regard, because I wonder, INEC had enough time to prepare for this election, so why are we still having a recurring decima of we can't see vehicles to convey? It's quite unfortunate. I'm not happy with these developments.
All right, then, thank you for that. But let's take it to our Abuja studios. We can just bring in Mr. Tietie here. When we look at the role of election observers, I mean, in promoting participatory democracy, human rights, and civic participation, how pivotal do you think the role of local and international election observers will be in ensuring transparency in the Edo governorship elections? In what ways can they hold electoral institutions accountable, particularly when their allegations of bias or even misconduct may arise as the day goes on?
Well, thank you very much. Election observers have not been quite relevant to the ultimate decisions with regards to the outcome of elections. However, there is a statutory provision, recognition by reason of the electoral guidelines that recognizes that the election observers can be quite useful in the process of election. For example, they are able to, watch all the processes in the build-up to the elections and actually observe to the extent that where there are irregularities, they are also able to point those irregularities out to either the presiding officers or the supervisory presiding officers or whoever that is concerned at whatever level of leadership in INEC. Beyond that, one would have thought that their reports would be of much evidentiary value, especially when there are contentions in court or in other considerations by INEC. But oftentimes, we've come to the conclusion that those reports are practically useless. Perhaps they are useful for commentary, but beyond that, they don't hold much water when it comes to being used as tools or pieces of evidence in making determinations as to who won the election, or whether there are irregularities to the extent that can determine whether the elections should be cancelled. So I think it's a ritual that has been associated with modern practice of democracy, that has also been a function of the interest of international development partners who want to see democracy grow in Africa's largest country in terms of population, and to also see that there is some stability. But over the years, the conclusion is that they have not been of much value to the political process, because we keep experiencing, as we do today, the same problems, the same script. We haven't had any improvement in electoral reforms, and even if we have had electoral reforms, as we have experienced in the 2022 Electoral Act, there is still the the insurmountable problem of a people and a process that manipulates the elections so that they ultimately lack credibility. So we're just going through a contestation where the smartest the person who beats the system is able to turn out the winner. That is a very, very sad conclusion indeed.
All right, Frank, let me stay with you before we come back to the Lagos studio. But I'd like you to also touch on the aspect where our guest here, Taiwo Olapade, has mentioned, which has to do with assessment of the first 1 hour of INEC's readiness in Edo State, which everybody is saying has been slow. Yes, there is rain, but of course there is also logistical problems. Many people will say that INEC has, had time to prepare for off-cycle elections like this. We have at least had a Kogi and a Bayelsa, and I believe one other. What do you think could be responsible for this slow start, that is giving the people, a kind of impression that maybe, is it just weakness on the part of INEC, or can there be something else that is responsible for it, as Taiwo Olapade was suggesting, right here in the studio? What are your thoughts on that? The first 1 hour, or the one hour, 10 minutes of the slow start for today?
Well, I think that we will not be sincere if we say that we are surprised at the slow start that you referred to. It has been a norm with our elections, and I think that is a factor that tends to manipulation. There is one man who has served as a resident electoral commissioner. I call him the super resident electoral commissioner in various states. I'm talking about Mike Igini. I've taken time to, spend time with him, to talk with him, to understand some of the processes, because he was involved in several elections in several states where he served as resident electoral commissioner. And I asked him in pointed terms that what could be responsible for the inefficiencies of INEC, and the fact, especially in the area of distribution of sensitive electoral documents and materials. And what he told me, and I believe him as a senior colleague, both in legal practice and at the university, is that it's a matter of compromise. And I think Mike Igini should be taken very seriously. Compromise at every level, especially at the recruitment of the officers who conduct the elections. There is no reason why you must insist that a particular resident electoral commissioner should conduct a gubernatorial election in one state. There is also the aspect where those who are supposed to be recruited as presiding officers or supervisory presiding officers are actually, the process is actually compromised, where the political actors are actually, connive with the institutions, whether it is INEC or in the case of where there's a lot of reliance on the NYSC, connive with the state coordinators of the NYSC to either put names of persons who to serve as core members, who actually are names that are supplied by the political actors. So if I completely different persons running the election, You see, it's easy to always refer to INEC as the scapegoat, forgetting the fact that there is a system and with operators who are very, steeped and skilled in subverting it. So when we talk about the slow start and especially with regards to missing sensitive election materials or the poor distribution, it's purely as a result of the manipulation and the workings of persons who have infiltrated the electoral process as actually either as permanent staff of INEC or as ad hoc staff. So it's a people problem. It's a problem associated with the operators. In this case, we are looking at phony lists. I listened to a Guinea who told me how he was shocked that the list NYC will supply will be different completely from the list he receives as a resident electoral commissioner. And you find out that those who actually went to conduct the elections as presiding officers, as supervisory presiding officers, are persons who are simply employees and agents of the political parties and the candidates. So when you see a system and a people who have decided to progress more in error and in subversion, this is what we always get. So you ask me, I am not surprised at all. I'm only just surprised at the fact that we are a people who have continued to do things the same way without hoping to improve and earn some respect for ourselves. And that's the reason. That's what we are experiencing in Edo right now. I hope it gets better with all of these concerns that we are raising right here in the media. If not, it is not only INEC that will be indicted. It is all of us continually that will tell ourselves that we don't appear to be ready for democracy.
All right, and thank you, Mr. Frank, for that. But let's come back to our Lagos studios with Mr. Olapade. Even before we started the interview, you saw that video where the Navy had spoken about deploying officials and, machineries to ensure that voters are safe. When we think about that and, the importance of security in elections, with security agencies playing such a critical role, do you think that the police, and I'd asked this earlier, the police and the army can effectively balance maintaining order and ensuring voter confidence? Because they're setting risks, even from previous elections, of security agencies being perceived as partisan. So how can these agencies deal with remaining neutral while dealing with potential unrest? Mr. Olapade.
Well, I make bold to say that this election is a litmus test for INEC as well as the security agency. So I'm not surprised that the IG of police, he has been speaking and he has given assurance that his men are going to be neutral, unbiased in this Edo gubernatorial election. Likewise, Mr. Frank Uba, the DIG operations, who is also deployed as the leader of the security agency, particularly the police in this regard for this election, he has also given an assurance that his men are going to do the needful and are going to conduct themselves as expected. However, in the build-up to this election, we have seen so much of utterances, particularly from the sitting governor, expressing his fear as regards the bias on the side of even INEC as well as the security officials. So we are all watching and we are monitoring, and we expect that the police particularly will conduct themselves, will be seen as fair, transparent, and giving their best in this election, because some people have also said that why do we need up to about 35,000 policemen to monitor? We are not going to war. But because of the fact that I want to go back to what I said earlier, politicians with a sinister motive, you never can tell. So we have to be proactive. We know the nature, all of them, all our politicians, that's the way they are. So for police to have deployed so much of men to Edo, I'm not against it. And I hope that the people of Edo State will feel more secured to come out and, participate in this election and vote for candidate of their choices.
All right, well, let me stay with you a bit more before we go back to Frank. But this time around, it's down to the wire in terms of those who actually elect their leaders, their governor, the voters.
Yes, sir.
And INEC says that slightly more than 2.2 million people have collected their PVC, which is a record.
Yes, sir.
If we get up to 50% of those people to come out today, we will also have a record, at least having nothing less than 1.1 million people.
Okay.
What are your expectations? It's been a wet day in Edo State today, but given the fact that it appears overly militarized in terms of the heavy presence of security, do you think that we can even, inch close to, 35% of voter turnout, or 40 or 50, which would be ideal, by the way, so that people can actually have a voice to choose their governor? What are your expectations in terms of the numbers that we are dealing with? And if we do not get up to that, what does that say about the people who have been collecting PVCs but never turn up for voting?
Well, if you permit me, sir, I will quickly make a reference to the last general election in 2023.
Yeah.
From INEC record, we were told that we had about 93 point something registered voters million voters, and about 86, if my record is correct,
yes.
collected their voters card to participate in that election. But surprisingly, it's just about 26 million people that, by record, that participated in that election. So where is the rest of Nigerians? Are we saying we are not...
Who were holding their PVCs
but
never went out to vote?
And I've also listened to some Nigerians who also questioned or queried the record INEC gave to us going into that 2023 general election. It is not possible that we had 86 million Nigerians collected their PVC, but eventually we had about 26, 27 million people that actually participated in that election. People have queried that figure from INEC. And I make bold to say that INEC should also come out clean to tell us if indeed we had up to about 86 million people that collected, because I can imagine.
So it's the same logic for this Edo election, that's what you're saying?
For Edo election, we have been told that about 2.2 million people
more,
collected, thereabout, out of about 2.6, I know that were registered for this election. Unfortunately, INEC, for me, is giving room for litigation at the end of this election. I say this because we know what has been the development in the build-up to this election. Now, we have lost an hour in this election already. We have been hearing complaints of logistics, of electoral officials not being at their polling units. Of course, rain, that we can't hold...
It's nature.
It's nature. We can't hold rain back. But whether we like it or not, there was also a prediction earlier that we are likely to see about 2-3 hours of rain today. So we expect
they knew
that they should have
happen.
also prepared ahead of a rough weather. But by and large, Heightens still has some little bit of time to quickly come in and also address this, because I expect that those who were supposed to convey the material should have been settled, the cars, the vehicles should have been...
What this means is that if there is a heavy voter turnout, an extension will be necessary.
It is not likely.
Exactly.
And we have seen that played out in some of the past elections. But I'm saying for 2020 election, gubernatorial election in Edo State, I think we had about 24% turnout at the end of the day. But this election, we have about 85 point something percent that collected their PVC. So we expect to see a large turnout, a more higher turnout compared to 2020. But see what we are faced with, and that's the reality on ground.
Correct.
The rain. And again, the inability of INEC to move the materials
in terms of
it's
logistics.
Quite unfortunate, sincerely.
I think we should also direct that question to Mr. Frank Tietie in our Abuja studios. Based on your expectations, rightfully, like my colleague had mentioned, we're looking at about a 2.2 people who had collected 2.2 million people who had collected their PVCs. But when we look at voter turnout and the expectations, what are yours, Mr. Frank? Do we still have...
The Edo people are noted for being very... The Edo people are noted for being very highly politically conscious. They are very politically active. I can say that as a matter of fact, having spent much of my time as a student in Benin City, and then coming from the neighboring Delta State. And to also think that there has been a feverish campaign season in the build-up to today's election, I can assure you that the mobilization has been like no other. Yes, there have been cries from certain circles that the security apparatus may just be a problem that would dissuade the expression of certain voters. However, the natural and general expectation is that we are going to witness the highest turnout of voters like no other before in Edo State, irrespective of the elements. The Edo people want to make a statement. The configuration of the configuration of the candidates also makes it very, very interesting to think that we have an incumbent governor who is expressing serious interest in a candidate who also has done quite a lot in mobilization, and to also think that the charismatic candidate, I mean the candidate of the Labour Party, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, the person of Peter Obi, actually was on ground touring all the senatorial districts in Edo State with the candidate of the Labour Party, to also think of another highly influential politician, talking about Senator and once former Governor Adams Oshomole, getting involved in massive mobilization like we have never recorded in Edo State before. So today is expected to be a showdown of the people power in expressing that they are able to make a decision concerning Edo State. So with all of those, build up, there is no doubt that the turnout, irrespective of whatever dissuasion, may actually be much better than we recorded in the previous election.
All right, thanks. Taiwo, before I think we probably have a correspondent waiting, but before we clarify that, what are your thoughts regarding an aspect of what Frank said, that this is a slightly different election in terms of mobilization? It's not a 2-horse race, it's a 3-horse race. 3 leading candidates or leading parties out of 17. Do you think that will have any potential, to change the outcome in terms of, people coming out today?
Well, like I said, the reality on ground is that for now, INEC need to really up their game by ensuring that areas where we have observed lapses as regards, the movement of materials are quickly, because the election time is also, I think it's between 8 o'clock to about 2:30 thereabouts, and it's simultaneously, as you are being accredited, you also, cast your vote at the same time. So we are already like 1 hour behind schedule. So, but coming
it's almost 1.5 hours now. But before you go into that point, we'll still come back to you, because we'll need you and Frank to hold on a bit while we'll go to the field where our rights correspondent Charles Iruka is in Hirua, the hometown of the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate, Senator Monday Okwebolo. He joins us now for an update. Tell us what's going on there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, we are here in the Ujabole Central Primary School, Irua in Esson Central, and this is supposed to be Ward 2. And right now, voting has not yet commenced, and that's because there is a little bit of a dispute going on here. Somebody will be shedding more light on that. Earlier on, I spoke with one of the election officials, and he told me that they spent the night here. So it's not a question of election materials getting here late. They got here quite early. Unfortunately, voting hasn't started yet, and you can see from the commotion going on in the background there, they have not started casting their ballots. But then we have an explanation for that from one of the members of this community. Paul? All right, welcome. This is Paul Obo, and he did try to shed light on some of the issues in this place when I spoke to him earlier. So, Paul, why is it that voting has not yet commenced in this place?
Good morning. Because of the registered voters, they came from other places, they came to vote. So the argument here is now who to vote and not to vote. So the PDP are saying that everybody should not vote. They will carry people from other places. So now they are saying that the APC are pack people from other places that they should not vote. So we are saying as far you are a registered voter in this community and this polling unit, you are eligible to vote.
So you said that they are alleging that some other people have been brought from other communities to vote. Yes. But then we want to know, the people who have come here to vote, were they not registered here?
Quite all right. They are registered here. They came to register here. They came from outside to come and register. Some of them even transferred their card to this place to come and vote.
Now, this happens to be a little bit of a dispute here, but then the security officials here, what are they doing about it?
For now, I don't know if there are reports to the officials. Because when you came in, you met me. So I was just trying to report to you. You said I should come and tell the Arise TV what is going on. So, okay. So by now, I don't know if the people that are around the official, if they are confounded with the people that are supposed to regulate the issue.
All right. Thank you very much, Paul. So in a nutshell, that exactly is what is happening here. There's a bit of a dispute. Well, the voters who have been registered to vote in this place are confirmed, but then some of the residents here are insinuating that they are not members of their community, that they have been brought from another community to come and swell the numbers. But then that's a little bit of a controversy. It is not a tense situation as yet because the security officials are around. They're keeping an eagle eye on what is happening here until this little dispute is resolved. That's the situation here at the moment. But I'd also like to tell you that the security situation when we were en route to this place is really tight. We could have probably gotten here a lot earlier, except for the fact that so many times we had to be stopped by security agents to properly identify us, identify our station, and also explain our mission. About a kilometer away from here is the polling unit where the candidate of the All Progressives Congress will be voting. And we also will be bringing you details of what will be happening at that venue. But just a sample population of the voters, and we have a little bit of situation here.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Charles, for that, and also bringing us up to speed with the security situations across the state. We appreciate your time, and we'll come back to you very shortly.
All right.
All right, we're going to go on a short break now, and when we come back, we'll continue the show.
All right, we proceed, isn't it, with the Edo elections, and we still have in the studios Taiwo Olapade here with us in Lagos, here with us, and of course Frank Tietie in Abuja. So Taiwo, we were discussing earlier about what it means for the voters, the individuals, and then we were calculating the time. It is now 1.5 hours into the what is supposed to be the elections, but again from the reports on ground, it is still a slow start. Is this confirming your fears, or do you think that it is just one of those things,
Actually, before you answer that, again, Arise News, we're always live bringing you the updates. So we're going to go back to Edo State very quickly to talk to our correspondent, Christy McCauley, to bring us up to speed. It looks like we have more voters that have turned out. Can you tell us what's going on at your polling unit?
Yeah, Agbado Primary School on Akpakpava Road. Voting has commenced here, and we have an appreciable turnout of persons here. The exercise seems to have started, well past 8 o'clock. And this is also in Oredo. This is Ward 12, where we have 10 units. Yes. And the voting, the exercise has commenced. Everything is moving on smoothly, as expected. The security guys are on guard. Everything is going as scheduled right now. So it's a bit of an improvement following what we have done before now. Some centers will go back there to see how it is, and we'll get you posted. But in the meantime, In the meantime, let's feel the pulse of some of the voters here. You have voted this morning. How early were you here?
I came here at about 7:30.
Okay.
So I came here at about 7:30 and waited for the INEC people to set before the calculation commenced.
Yeah. So how do you rate the process? Was it smooth?
So far it has been cool, smooth, everywhere has been peaceful, just that the turnout was low. Or the turnout has been low. So we hope maybe within now and the other hours left, so we'll have an encouraging turnout.
What do you mean by the turnout has been low? Okay, previous elections you have more crowd here?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the turnout we had
What do you think could be responsible for this?
It's because of the threat, the other activity, pre-election activities that has been happening within the state, that the security agencies, the INEC, the politicians, the various parties, they are all aware. So the threat is just too much. So maybe that's why most persons they come out to vote.
As you heard from our respondent here, we hope that as we move on, more people will come out and participate in this exercise. The voters here, not much as expected, because judging by previous election, the kind of crowd we used to have here, this is far from it. We have 12 units in this place. Ward 12, Oredo, on Akpakpava Road.
All right, thank you, Christy. We know that Akpakpava Road is an important major road in Benin City, and given what you are saying, that the turnout is low. But of course, this is still early hours. We'll see what happens by the time we get to 11, 12, and 1 or 2 p.m. Thank you, Christy. We now cross over to Vieteme George, another of our correspondents who is live in Edo State and is in Evoimi, Ward 1. Vieteme, what is the situation at this point? It looks like things are beginning to pick up. Tell us what is happening where you are right now.
Okay, you're right. Ewoimi, Ward 1, Unit 3. The people, let me just walk into the rain. The people are still waiting here. Now you can see the crowd is beginning to form. Some are at the gate. A bit of apprehension here. They've been complaining all through. Look at the old people here. Some in their 80s, some in their 90s, waiting to cast their ballots on election day, and we're still here. The officials of the INEC haven't come yet. I did say earlier in the first interview that this is where the PDP governorship candidate, Aswe Igodalo, would cast his ballot. That is Ewoimi, Ward 1, Unit 3. Now, look at this number. They still be patient. Hello, can I talk to you, please? Please, what's your name?
Christopher Adoge.
No, you're looking at the camera, please.
Christopher Adoge.
Okay, please.
So
No, don't hold my microphone. I know you are angry.
Okay.
Just, you have to be patient. It's a system. It's a process.
Okay.
I'm looking at the camera.
we will not take this. It's not even necessary at all. We don't like it, because the way they are taking us, we don't like it. We have been here for more than 7 o'clock. They not bring police, they not bring anything, they not bring paper, nothing. It's only security that are tight here, and the media, they are here. Since we are here, and as this is making, it's going to 10 o'clock. Nothing like police, nothing like INEC in Eboimi. So we not see anything like that. So we started angry. All those police calm everybody down. We can see my mother, everybody. They are here, even all the old primary school, nothing like polling units in Eboimi. So that kind of thing, we can't take it. We can't take it. We just want to count that because we want the peace of Nigeria. That's why we are here. My own president, everybody should hear my cry. All my Nigerian brothers, both the Southwest, Southeast, all over the world should hear my cry. Both America, Australia, everywhere should hear my cry. We want anything that will start from 8 o'clock. Accreditation will start from 8 o'clock. We want that kind of process of election so that everything will go smoothly. That's what we want, sir. I beg all my Nigeria, I beg all of now, make now rise up for us, I beg.
You are appealing to the U.S.?
Yes, all over the world, yes.
Okay, Joe Biden will hear you. I'll communicate your message. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, he even said, okay, ma, to me. I'm male, I'm not female, and neither am I transgender. Well, it's still raining here. I'm in the rain. You can see they are still... Why are you laughing?
Vieteme.
Now, see...
I wonder,
He called me ma.
Yes, I wonder. I mean, we were talking to Christy earlier, and she said they were able to, make a call through to some of the officials who then informed them that they were a few minutes out from the location. I wonder if that is the same thing, that you could maybe do the same thing to find out exactly where they are, since you already mentioned that it's a bit far from the Benin City itself.
I'm about 3 hours away from them. Now I have an eligible voter. I want to say eligible. Papa, good morning.
Morning, sir.
What are you here, sir? What are you here for?
Okay, I'm here for voting. We have been here for more than 3 hours, and no INEC, no accreditation, nothing, and we have been waiting. And up till now, we are waiting. Nothing done as of now. We are still just waiting. We are appealing to INEC to appear now and come and lead us to do anything we want to even just do here. We are even just here for more than 3 hours now also. So my people and others, they are all here waiting INEC.
Papa, sorry for keeping you in the rain. How old are you, sir?
Okay, I'm 65 years, I'm 75 years old.
75 years?
Yes.
Papa, please go and take your seat, sir. The world has heard your cry. Please, I'm sorry for keeping you in the rain.
Thank you.
Sorry. Now, that is Papa. But if you look at Mama, you see, there are many here, and they are determined to cast their ballots on election day, when the people of Edo have come out in their numbers to choose their governor, to elect someone to be in Osadebe House, the seat of power, to succeed the man Godwin Obaseki. But they are here still waiting. It becomes a bit disturbing because no information is coming to us here. We're just waiting. These people are determined to stay here
how many people
for
are
as
waiting?
long as INEC will still come.
At this point in time, like, how many people are waiting, and do we have an idea of the size of the voters that are expected in this particular ward today?
Well, I haven't done the math to know the number of voters in this Ward 1, Unit 3. Over there, there's also Unit 15. Now, there are a lot of persons scattered all over here. The ones you've seen under the canopy, these are the ones you can see. They're just seated here. This number should be probably about 35, 40, 50. But there are many more at the gate. There's a vehicle that arrived. We thought it was INEC officials that had arrived, so we were hoping they would just walk in. So a lot of persons actually went out there to see if it was so, but they came back disappointed. So a lot of persons are just scattered all over. Even the security agents, the police, they're all here waiting, just as I am standing in the rain, waiting for INEC to come. We will wait. We have patience. We will wait.
All right, then, thank you so much, Ovieteme George, holding it down for Arise News all the way in Edo State. But let's bring it back to the studio now. Mr. Olapade, you are seeing what's going on there. Our first correspondent, of course, talking about the voter turnout. She even spoke to a voter who had already cast his own vote. But then looking at Ovieteme, where Ovieteme George is, he says about 3 hours away from Benin City.
There's an Eboimi,
yes.
Ward 1, Unit 3,
where,
and 15. Not
exactly,
far from you,
where
3
INEC
hours
officials have not even arrived yet. Your thoughts?
Well, it make it worse if nobody is also talking to them.
Exactly.
And it make it worse again because from his report, the candidate of the PDP is supposed to cast his vote at that same particular polling unit.
Correct.
So what do you say? So it looks like it is deliberate on the side or on the part of INEC. And that's why I said INEC is like creating a room for litigation even before the rain begins. I mean the race rather, as in even before the election begins. Because it looks like it is deliberate that materials have not been deployed to that polling unit, likewise some other polling units. So what exactly is going on? And that's why initially I said there should be a thorough investigation. It looks like it's becoming deliberate. And you know our politicians, they can do anything to ensure that they are elected either way, or even they force themselves into power. So for me, as a person, it looks like INEC needs to be queried from what we have seen so far regarding this. They had enough time to prepare for this election. I'm disappointed in INEC, to say the least.
All right, let's go back to Abuja, where we have Frank Tietie, and to also get his thoughts on the development so far in the last 30 to 40 minutes. Still raining in some parts in Edo State. Election and voting are started in some parts around Benin, but in Eboimi and a few other places, people are still waiting. It's a waiting game around there. Frank, what are your thoughts, given the mixed bag that we are getting from Edo State? We have to approach carefully what's happening in Eboimi, but of course, Taiwo touched on it. This is the area where Aswe Gudalo, the candidate of the PDP, is expected to vote. But then people have been waiting for 3 hours, let's say 1.5 hours after voting was meant to have started, and accreditation is still a waiting game there. Frank.
All right, I think we should not jump to conclusions at this time. There is still a lot of time to correct any anomalies that we are experiencing at this time. One interesting thing about the report from Ovietime George is the determination of the people to wait. The Electoral Act does contemplate situations where there could be unforeseen events happening that could lead to delays, that could lead to a time or in delay in the process. Nevertheless, there cannot be a situation where people who are committed to voting will be disenfranchised. So I hope that value is given to many of these reports that we are getting so that INEC can quickly respond. And where necessary, consider such situations as times of emergency and do the proper thing, and in some cases postpone the election in that particular ward if it's of any significance, and then ensure that the people do cast their vote. But when it does, reflect a certain manipulation in causing disenfranchisement, in causing the elections from not going on in a particular region that will affect the prospects of a particular candidate, there calls for worry. And in that case, it brings up the issue of how we use security in our elections. I think it's important that people who go out to vote feel a sense of security. But nevertheless, from history, we know that the actual lockdown, the security lockdown that we often experience in times of election, whether national or off-cycle elections, as we have in Edo State, are actually times that can be, or opportunities that can be easily used to manipulate elections in terms of allowing certain persons to move and restricting the movement of other persons, especially in trying to, ruin the fortunes of a candidate in a particular area. We hope that's not the case, but that has often been the case in our elections. We are hoping that the INEC will do the needful and ensure that there is a very responsive action in Ewohimi. However, what I find very difficult to understand is that once a political party or a candidate, has raised an issue concerning bias of the chief manager of the election, that is the resident electoral commissioner, there is no reason why INEC should insist that that particular person should conduct the election, because he's the man who receives the materials, he's the one who deploys the staff, whether permanent or ad hoc staff, he's the one who gives them logistics. If he decides to withhold those logistics as at when necessary, and then thereby causing problems, and then there is ultimately, at the end of the day, a substantial compliance in the whole electoral process to the disadvantage of a particular candidate, that ultimately takes away credibility from the election. So INEC would have, for the sake of, engendering that kind of respect for its independence and impartiality, assure the voters and the participants in this election that there is no partisanship on the part of INEC, there is no bias against any candidate. But when you see this kind of lopsided, disadvantage, distribution and deployment of men and materials in a particular place of interest, I hope I use this opportunity to sound to INEC that there's still enough time to make such corrections, or else it jeopardizes, a higher degree of impartiality.
All right, Frank Tietie, many thanks indeed, and Taiwo Olapade, but we'll give you just one, quick moment to wrap up as we we have to move on to other things and thank your good servant, Frank. But of course, you have heard what Frank said. There is still time to make amends. What are your last thoughts before you let you go, please?
Well, I just want to appeal to INEC. If the INEC National Chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yacoub, is watching, please speak to those on ground in Edo State. Though they say we have some time, we still have a bit of time. It's already past 10, getting to 10:30. Yes. Some people don't have the patience to wait for too long. You can see the old men that have been in the rain for the past 3 hours thereabouts. So INEC need to quickly move in to do the needful, ensure that you don't give room for people to speculate. I said that before this race began, it looks like we are going to go the way of litigation. It is normal. If you feel that you are not satisfied with the conduct of the exercise, you have the right to go to court. You don't need to go violence, but INEC shouldn't give room for that. But it looks like, what we have been seeing so far, it looks like INEC has already prepared ground for people to say, no, you have not done well in this regard. So the little time that we have left, before 2 o'clock or 2:30, where the election is supposed to come to an end, INEC should move in, appeal to people, let people see that their conscience is clear. If indeed it was a logistic issues that they had, let them come out to people and explain, so that people will not speculate that, oh, it was deliberate on the side of INEC. For people of Edo State, please, remain resolute to choose the governor that will come after Gordon Obaseki, come the 11th of November, 2024.
All right, and thank you so much for your time and analysis, Mr. Olapade and Mr. Tietie, who joined us from our Abuja studios.